Hello, welcome back to part 2 of the use of language in both formal and informal writing. We're going to continue now with something called the use of abusages in your writing. Now, there are many words and expressions that we use or hear in everyday speech which are incorrect in both written and verbal English, but they've been used frequently, and so people just tend to slip into using these words, but sometimes they're not, in fact, even real words. If you use these particular words, you may leave people with a poor impression of you, particularly in business, professional, or academic environments. So I've given you a list of just some of the abusages, that the more common ones that people tend to use, and I'm going to explain why they're incorrect, and I will give you corrections for these words. So the first one is the word allot, A-L-O-T. Now, in fact, there is no such word as allot, A-L-O-T. And the word that you mean is much or many. So you could divide it into two words, but it's not one word, A-L-O-T. So A-L-O-T is not a word. If you want to say he ate a lot for dinner, it must be two words, or he still owes a lot of money. Now, you can use this expression in informal writing, but if you're writing formally, it's better to say he still owes us much money, or he still owes us a large sum of money. But remember, A-L-O-T is one word, it's not a word. It's not in the dictionary, it's not a word. The next abusage I want to look at is the words already and already. So already, as one word, means previously, like it happened before. And this one, that's two words, all and ready, means it's completely ready. So I've used this in a sentence, both these words for you. By the time we were all ready to go, that means we were completely prepared to go, our taxi had already left. It means it had previously left. So here are these two words used in one sentence to clarify. Another abusage is anyways and anywheres. Like people say an expression, well, anyways, there's no such word as anyways or anywheres. They're incorrect, and what you want to say is anyway or anywhere. Next is back of. Now, back of is the use of colloquialism, and we'll be talking about colloquialism shortly, and it's colloquial for behind. So what you should say was the shed was built behind the house, not in the back of the house. You would say the shed was built behind the house. So back of is an abusage there. Next is beside and besides. Beside and besides. Beside, without the S, is a preposition meaning by the side of, whereas besides, with the S, is an adverb and it means in addition, or it's also a preposition meaning in addition to. Example, the little girl sat beside her older sister. That means by the side of. But besides, with the S, meaning in addition to, besides getting grounded for a week, so in addition to being grounded for the week, June also had to apologize for her behavior. So two very different meanings, and just differentiate them between beside and besides. This next one is a very common error. Can't hardly, can't scarcely, couldn't hardly. They're called double negatives, and you must avoid them. You cannot have double negatives. So instead, what you should say is I can hardly, can scarcely, or could hardly. And I've written a sentence for you. I can hardly stand up since I'm so tired tonight. That is correct. You cannot say I can't hardly. It's a double negative, so that would be wrong. It's I can hardly stand up. I can scarcely make it to the other room, I'm so tired. Or I could hardly. These are all correct right here. These here. Okay, another one. And this, people speak this way, and also I have seen it in writing, students writing, could have, might have, should have, would have. These are illiteracies that stem from the contractions could have, might have, should have, and would have. So they sound like that, the contractions could have. So frequently they're written in this form, could and of, but they're wrong. And so the way you would write it is you could have, because that's the verb form. Could have. I would. The verb is have, not of. And I might have. These are the verbs have. So I've given you an example. I might have passed the test if I had studied harder than I did. So please remember that rule. Another one, another abusage, didn't do nothing. Again, this is a double negative. Didn't is already a negative and nothing is a negative. So you would not use terms like I couldn't see nothing, I couldn't get nowhere, I wouldn't talk to nobody. They're double negatives. So to correct these, what you would say was, I told my father that I didn't do anything. You wouldn't say I didn't do nothing, but I didn't do anything. I decided that I wouldn't talk to anybody. You can't say I wouldn't talk to nobody. I wouldn't talk to anybody. And you're already using the negative here. She couldn't means couldn't, could not. She couldn't get anywhere without the help of her daughter. Okay, so another one that is important to remember. Hardly and scarcely, don't use a negative with these words. Hardly means with difficulty, and scarcely means I could scarcely do it. So you wouldn't say, I could not hardly get up for work today. You could say, I could hardly, because hardly already means you could barely do it. So you wouldn't say, I could not hardly. It's a double negative. So I could hardly get up for work today after a restless night's sleep. Next is irregardless. There is no such word as irregardless. It's a double negative. Regardless is already in the negative, so irregardless is not a word. So there's no such word. Just say regardless. So in this sentence, I am coming to the party regardless of what you may think. So this is correct, just regardless. Another abusage is kind of and sort of. These expressions should be avoided in speeches and in writing, and it's better to say rather, somewhat, or in some degree. So you wouldn't want to say I was kind of not feeling well, or this is sort of what I mean. You would say in some degree, or this is somewhat, or rather. So you could say, I'm rather glad, not I'm kind of glad, I'm rather glad that he was not invited to the party. Another one is off of. There's no such expression as off of. It's considered informal and slang, and you should try to avoid it. So use from or off instead. So look at this example. I got the cup from my sister. You wouldn't say I got the cup off of my sister, just I got the cup from my sister. Or Barry took it off the desk and he placed it on the table. You wouldn't say Barry took it off of the desk. He just took it off the desk. So another one that you should remember. Yet another abusage is outside of. It should not be used for aside from. So better to say aside from this mistaken judgment, it is very good. Not outside of this mistaken judgment. Use the expression aside from. Another one is real, which is used as an adverb. We frequently say, he did a real good job. This is real bad. You're a real nice person. Or this is real special. Wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. You need to use the adverb really. Really good, really bad, really nice, or really special. So instead, just use very then if you're not sure how to use it properly, the adverb. So the adverb real doesn't add much description or depth. So I think it's better to say, instead of saying this book has a real good concluding chapter, would be incorrect. You could say this book has a really good concluding chapter, or I think even more effective is this one. The concluding chapter of this book is both exciting and tragic. Like give more depth to your writing and just say why it's a good chapter. So instead of saying it's really good, really is meaningless. How is it good? So it's a good concluding chapter because it's exciting, it's tragic, etc. I gave you another example here. It was really nice or extremely nice to see you again. So you wouldn't say real nice or extremely nice. You wouldn't say real nice. You'd say it was really nice or extremely nice. Or I'm so glad that we had a chance to see each other again. Why not just word it that way? So instead of saying it was really nice to see you again, just say I'm so glad that we had this opportunity to meet again or to see each other again. So always play with your words before you write them so that you come up with the best expression, the best choice of words to articulate what you're trying to say. Another abusage is supposed to. This is non-standard. You would have to say supposed to. You need the D at the end. You can't say suppose. You must add the D. So I've given you an example. You were supposed, with the D, to be at work over an hour ago. Just like he used to be my best friend. You can't say used to. That's wrong. You must say used to. You have to add the D in both. And two more examples of abusages. This one is ways. Try not to use the plural form when the singular is meant. So avoid saying, he lives a little ways down the road. It's incorrect. So what you would say is continue a little way down the road to the stop sign. So avoid ways and just use the word way. And the last abusage, and not to say that there aren't more, there are many, many abusages, but I've just included some of the most popular ones or that I've heard more frequently or I've found in writing, and it's use. People say use guys. So that is, in speech, it's not even the best to use in speech. It's better just to say you, and guys is also slang. So use, though, isn't even a word. The word you is both singular and plural. Yous are all late for the movies would be incorrect. You would just simply say you are all late for the movies. So if you're referring to one person you, it's the same as the plural you. So avoid using the word use. All right, the next way to improve language is pretentious language. Writers, when trying to impress their readers at times, use many abstract nouns, words with multi-syllables, and sometimes long, confusing sentences, thinking that it's a more impressive way to write. But remember, in order to write effectively, you want to be clear, concise, and to the point. So if you're writing wordy, roundabout, long, indirect sentences, it's called pretentious writing. And another term for it is this funny word, it's called gobbledygook. It's just long, going on, rambling, confusing. So I've given you an example of gobbledygook or pretentious writing, which is maybe easier term to remember. And here it is. In the case of the choice of my future career, it is believed by both my mother as well as my father that it is crucial and of most importance that I ought to attend some school of higher learning before starting on the road of life by myself. Going on and on and on and on. It's the use of pretentious language or gobbledygook. Why not get right to the point? And what you mean is, my parents think I should go to college. Just get to the point. It's now a very clear sentence. So how do you avoid gobbledygook? How do you avoid this pretentious language? Well, here are some pointers. A, you choose clear, simple words to convey your meaning. Next, don't include unnecessary information. This is called filler or padding. Sometimes I have students, they have to write essays that are maybe 2,000-3,000 words, and they say, I don't have enough to say, so they just put in padding, extra words to explain themselves. This should be avoided. You need to try to find more examples, more meat to what you're writing as opposed to filler. Another way to avoid gobbledygook is avoid vague and abstract nouns that convey little meaning, like the word thing. This is a good thing. What do you mean by thing? So come up with something more descriptive. Try to use the active voice more than the passive voice. And if you're not sure what active and passive is, I do have a video on the use of active and passive. And the last pointer is don't use or try to avoid using mundane, boring words like great, fine, really, cute, sweet. Try to come up with more descriptive words to explain what you're trying to say. So to get your message across effectively to your reader and audience, I suggest that you always try to write clearly and plainly so your reader respects you and respects your thoughts. And getting close to the end is your choice of words. And I've given you three categories here: using accurate words, effective words, and overworked words. So it's extremely important to always choose your words carefully so that what you're conveying in your writing will not confuse your reader. It can be frustrating for somebody to read your work and not understand what you're trying to say. Very, very frustrating. So let's first look at choosing words accurately. What does that mean? Accurate words. Well, don't be in a hurry when you're writing something that you know is important. And I've given you some pointers. First, think clearly about what you want to say. Don't jump in and write it right away. Then search for accurate words to express your ideas. You can use a dictionary or a thesaurus to help you. Proofread and revise your work carefully, and it could take several revisions, so take your time making sure you're using the best ideas, the best language possible. And I also try reading my work aloud, and I tell students to do that. You'd be surprised how when you read your work aloud, you pick up on a lot of your mistakes. And choose effective words. And what does that mean? Well, effective words are words you use which are appropriate for your topic and your audience. So choose direct, clear, simple words. They should be concise to convey your ideas. And again, use a thesaurus or a dictionary, and it'll expand your vocabulary, and it will also enrich your word choices. And that way you're not repeating words and you're using the most appropriate words possible. And the last point is overworked words. And what do I mean by that? Well, overworked words are words that are overused and they therefore lose their meaning in a sentence. And these words include great, terrible, oh sorry, I wrote great twice, sweet, lovely, horrible, wonderful, quite, nice. So try to come up with fresher words, newer words, more descriptive words. Try to substitute and get rid of the overworked words so you have a lot more variety in your choice of words, in your diction, in your language. So I've given you in these last two videos many pointers on how to improve language. We've talked about using language in both formal and informal writing, and I hope you found this helpful. If you have any further questions, please contact me in my website, InTheEnglishCorner.com. Thank you so much, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.